told a lot of his friends, quote, it's fixable. They kept saying it's fixable, it's fixable. Aaron didn't want to go all the way in saying it was unfixable, knowing there was a shot that Green Bay would not budge, and they didn't, and Aaron's going to come, not crawling back, but come back.
There's still time. He could still not come to training camp. That's some money to leave on the table, about $2 million, but he could still not go to training camp. Now, I don't anticipate that he won't be at training camp, because what's the value if you are going to play this year and hurting yourself by not getting those reps and not being around your teammates and not being with the team if you are going to eventually come back. So I think he'll be at training camp, but there still are a couple dates before we can see if he's going to play this season with them. So Baker Mayfield will be with the Browns at least through 2022 after the team picked up his option. He's also eligible for a contract extension with Cleveland. His deal would reportedly be easier to do than those of his draft class counterparts in Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, because they are considered to be a higher tier quarterback talent, although Browns fans would tell you otherwise. But Baker is not expected to take any sort of discount. So he said he's in no rush to sign an extension, although I'm sure he would be happy to sign an extension. Yeah. The Browns have no incentive to sign an extension with him. They can very easily let this play out for the rest of the season. Yeah. I actually don't have a problem with this situation. Obviously, Baker would like to have a longer extension and get his money, but this is the year. Just go out and perform well, and
you'll get your money.
You'll get your money. It's as simple as that. The Browns are not in a situation where they can just move on from Baker. If he plays well enough, they're going to pay him. That's what they should do.
Joe Flacco bet on himself. Baker, the reality is we will know by the end of the year. Either the Browns are going to have the leverage that Baker finished second to Baltimore and, had some games where he could not elevate, or Baker's going to have the leverage. And what's Cleveland going to do? Bail on him if he gets them to the playoffs, wins the division, and wins the playoff game? They're not going to bail on Baker.
And nor should they.
No. So, this is Baker. In the end, a lot of people would say, ooh, Baker, and I've said this, he's not going to get his money now. But if he plays as well as he could, he's got the best offensive line and the best running back in the game, the best running game and the best O-line. If you go look at the last 20 years and said this team has the best offensive line and the best running game, Dak went 13-3. Dak Prescott as a rookie when he had the best O-line and the best running back. It is hard not to be a playoff team if you have Phillip Rivers last year had a top O-line and a good running game, and Phillip Rivers won 11 games, and now he's out of the league. He was an old man.
There's no excuses for not just Baker, but for the Browns. They should be... Not only they should win this division, they should be in the playoffs. They should win multiple playoff games. There should be high expectations for them. You should do better than you did last year. Yeah, it's another year into Baker's career in this system, and he's betting on himself. It worked out for Dak
and Flacco.
Sometimes you have to do that, but it's totally in Baker's hands. If he plays well, he's going to get paid, and they should pay him.
Yeah, Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Oh, we got all sorts of stuff today. Chris Broussard now joins us live, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. All right. I got to tell you, I hear a lot of trade rumors, and many don't come to fruition. But I can make an argument Kawhi to Dallas is very interesting. Remember, Chris, Kawhi doesn't have big shoe money. He doesn't have big social media money. For Steph and LeBron, California taxes are irrelevant. They get so much business here. Kawhi's not a 10-year player. Kawhi doesn't have 10 years left. His career could be shortened by injuries. He doesn't have big shoe money. He doesn't have social media money. Only the 2020 Rams didn't capsize being on this show.
Oh, yeah, it's never good news.
No, it's like a reality show. It always ends in divorce. You can't put cameras around me and my wife and think we're going to be authentic and natural. It's just too much.
Well, also, at one point or another, you're going to get used to the cameras being there and default to whatever you do at home, which is not for everybody's consumption. And that's generally what happens. It's very standard that you don't have a great season when you have a bunch of cameras and a huge production, which I've seen the production before. It's massive.
Massive.
There's cameras everywhere. They're interviewing people. It's a whole thing. It's an extra added distraction during the time of year when you are wanting to completely focus and build your team and find out who's going to make the roster and how your season is going to look or prepare for your season. And now you got HBO there. Personally, I love this. I can't wait for this. This is a gift. This is a gift from the sports gods. Thank you, HBO.
No, it is great for us.
Yes.
And it's going to get me to watch it. There was a couple years ago that it was so boring. It was like a Buccaneers team that was bad. It was like I didn't even want to watch it. This will get my eyeballs.
Wasn't the Chargers last year? I don't even remember who
last year it was the Chargers,
Yeah.
and by the way, they underachieved, so it should be noted, no team that's been in Hard Knocks has ever gone to the Super Bowl. Now, I don't think the Cowboys are a Super Bowl team. I think they're going to be a good team. I think they're going to be like every other Cowboy team in the last 25 years. At the end of the year, you'll be like, oh, they're kind of fun to watch, but they're not special. But, this is what frustrates Cowboy fans. So what Cowboy fans, like fans are fan. Fan is short for fanatic. They all think they're going to win. But the one thing that, fan bases are all cut into two groups. Every fan base in America, football, basketball, baseball. The like grown-ups and the pom-pom waving kids who just can't handle any bad news. And then half of every fan base could be Seahawks, could be Raiders, could be Clippers. They're grown-ups, often a little more successful people. They've gone through stumbles in life. They know life's not linear. You don't always get what you want. They're the grown-up fan base, 50% of the fan base. They don't get in fights in games. They are frustrated because Jerry treats this more like a business than he does like a football team. It's a business, and this is great for merch. And that's what drives Cowboy fans nuts. At least the smart ones get that this is not good for winning. It's great for merch. It's great for sales.
It's great for sales. It's great for content.
Yes.
We are definitely going to talk about it. There's definitely going to be moments. And there's a lot of interesting things outside of just Dak and Jerry. I mean, you have Zeke, Micah Parsons. What's McCarthy going to look like? Like, there's so many different storylines that is going on with this team right now outside of just Dak and Jerry, who are the faces of the organization. So we're definitely going to talk about it. But yeah, it's not usually the best news for your season.
Not usually, no.
So today is the deadline for NFL players to utilize the league's COVID opt-out for the 2021 season. We talked about this, I think, 2 weeks ago, because this would be one of the first states to pay attention to in the ongoing Aaron Rodgers saga with the Green Bay Packers. So we were going to keep an eye on if he was going to potentially opt out, but according to Jeremy Fowler, he's unlikely to go that way. So it'll be too difficult for Rodgers to make this decision now with so much time left for the season, which is what we assumed. Like, this was probably going to be a little too premature to pull right now. We're still pretty far out from training camp and for the start of the season for him to make a decision to opt out right now, unless he was 1,000% dug in and the conversations have gone bad.
The Packers have called his bluff.
Yes.
The Packers have said, because part of this story is people have stopped calling the Packers because they won't take the call. So the Green Bay Packers won. The Green Bay Packers said, we're not trading you, and essentially they have won. Aaron threw a little bit of an off-season tantrum and did what Aaron does, whatever, which is he has every right to do it, but the Packers won this. The Packers said, all right, don't play. We'll go with Jordan Love. We're not going to fold to you. We're not going to set a precedent, and the Packers are going to get their way.
Well, they've always said that they weren't going to trade him.
That's right.
So unless he came out very publicly and said, I'm not playing here anymore, they always had the leverage in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, until he comes out like, I will never play for you again. Jordan Love is your guy. Trade me, or I'm going to sit and whatever, and it's going to get really ugly. They were always going to have the leverage in that situation.
Well,
he had to be that violent to make something move.
We know Aaron's very calculated, and he's very measured. The downside to doing what Aaron did, if the team doesn't fold, it just looks like a tantrum. That's all it looks like now, is like, I want this, and you come begging back to the franchise. So the downside, there is risk in what Aaron did, which is get all upset, and that's